Hi, everybody, and thank you for tuning in for this month's safety training. This month is personal protective equipment, which is called PPE. Basically, it just helps you protect yourself from harm whenever you're dealing with different types of duties for your job, such as cleaning, cutting, anything that would require a little bit of more harmful objects in use. So there is a course overview. We're going to be talking about head, eye, face, hearing, respiratory, body, hand, and foot protection. So for you as a team member, your responsibilities are knowing the function, the limitations, how to wear the equipment, when to wear it, also how to clean or disinfect it, how long can you use it for, how to dispose of it, and where and how to store it. Us as OHM, we're going to support you guys by making sure we're assessing what hazards might be present, selecting equipment that protects you against that specific hazard, training you guys on being able to use your PPE equipment, maintaining and inspecting all PPE, and documenting training, medical exams, and environmental conditions. That way, you guys are in the safest environment that you can be in. So, for head protection, being struck by a falling tool, bumping against a low beam, and coming into contact with an exposed electrical circuit, those are all things that are going to be common head injury causes. And even here at the DoubleTree, even if you're not with a bunch of tools or we don't have a low beam, sometimes just being aware of your surroundings, making sure there's not a giant shelf right next to you, or you're not banging your head on the housekeeping cart or on your desk if you're bending down for something. Just being aware of your surroundings is the #1 solution to this problem. We do not use hard hats. Housekeeping, banquets, front desk, they're not rocking a good hard hat. So with that, it's good to know this information, but it is not mandatory for your role. Basically, all hard hats have a label inside their shell, clearly identifying the type and class of hazards they protect against. And for points to remember for hard hats, just make sure you're inspecting them regularly if your job does require them, such as engineering. Do not put stickers or paint on your hard hat, which goes for all of your PPE. Do not put stickers or paint on any of your protective equipment, and make sure that you clean them regularly with mild soap and water. For eye and face protection, there are a lot of eye hazards, so you need to make sure that you're selecting one that will best fit the job you're doing. So for us, we are lucky we do have a pretty safe working environment. We're not on a construction site or anything, but we do have a lot of, dust, chemicals, maybe some heat, depending on which department you're in. So we're going to go and walk through the following slides to see what you might need to wear. So for eye protection requirements, basically for anything that you wear for eye protection, it has to fit comfortably. It needs to be durable, easy to clean. It can't restrict your vision, it's kind of counterintuitive, and also must not interfere with the function of other personal protection equipment. Corrective lenses, or as we call them, glasses, you have to make sure that you are supplementing a pair of goggles with your glasses if you need to wear your glasses. You cannot only wear your glasses, you need to have something else protecting you. So, goggles or safety glasses that will fit over your normal prescription eyewear are acceptable. Maybe having safety eyewear with the prescription in the lens, or basically making sure you're not using contact lenses if it's a high chemical, high heat environment. So just being mindful and being cognitive of, what are you doing and what are the requirements associated with that. There are different types of eye protection. So these are safety glasses. They have side shields to protect against low to moderate impact and hot sparks. So this is really good for different kinds of radiation and welding, which again, we don't really have to do here at the DoubleTree. If we have these, this would be with John Kelly and the engineers. Safety goggles are next. They basically form and seal against your face to prevent particles, dust, chemical splashes from entering the eye. We are really lucky. We do have eye wash stations available, so we don't have a lot of these that we mandate people to wear. So if you are interested in having this for your role, come find your manager and express your desire for this. This would be really great in housekeeping if the chemicals really irritate and bother your eyes. But other than that, a lot of your jobs don't have to worry about wearing this. but let us know if you have any concerns. A different type of PPE are face shields. This provides protection from flying particles, hot sparks, heat splashes, harmful mists, but they are not designed to protect against moderate to heavy impact. So if you get hit in the face, it's really going to hurt and it probably won't protect you very well. So we don't use these in our property, but if you feel like you have a need for this, please let us know and we'd be happy to look further into the matter. Also about welding hoods, we do not weld on property, but there are such things in place that way people who do need to weld, they have a isolated area for their head where they are not going to damage their eyes or their face with all of the sparks. Inspection and maintenance must be inspected daily. So anytime you use any kind of safety goggles or glasses, make sure that you're cleaning them and you're looking at them. Make sure they're not cracked already. Make sure they don't have a giant fingerprint right on the lens. Make sure they're actually useful, because if they're not useful, then that's really not going to help you a whole lot, and it's probably just going to get in your way as you're doing your work. And if you see any that are broken, let your manager know or let John Kelly know, and then he'll be able to help you order a new set and figure out, maybe there's a different way that we could be storing or using these. The next one is hearing protection. So noise is measured in decibels. So there's fragile hairs within the cochlea process and amplify sound. Damage to the cochlear hair results in hearing loss, and the average human hair contains approximately 20,000 hairs. When they are damaged, they are lost forever, they are gone. So hearing aids do not restore lost hearing, they simply amplify the existing sound. So you really want to make sure that you are making protection against giant noises. Again, in housekeeping, banquets, front desk, you really aren't going to have a lot of large, giant things ringing in your ear. But sometimes with banquet events, there can be a lot of loud noises with live bands, with other kind of music. Again, engineering, they work on a lot of stuff. They might be hammering, doing something. So if it is too loud for your ear, there are proper equipment that you can use. A lot of it is about earplugs or headphones. We want to make sure that we are still able to hear guests if they talk to us. We still wanted to make sure that you can hear your manager, your team. That way, you're in communication. But at the same time, if you can still hear somebody, or maybe if you're just working by yourself on a project, you can plug in some earplugs to protect that ear. Next up is respiratory. So we need to make sure that we're doing clean air. So there's air purifying respirators, supply air respirators, and the danger with everything when it comes to your lungs is that there's gases and vapors, mists and fogs, fumes. There's a few other ones. If you see on the right, basically that is a cross section of a lung, and it shows all of the deadly lung disease that is preventable through the use of a respirator. So there is specialized training. Never use a respirator that you have not been specifically trained and authorized to use in your work environment. Again, this is very, very much centered towards our engineering department. Engineering, if you have a question, you can always ask John Kelly. He is happy to help, making sure that you're safe. And for fit testing, make sure that they are providing an airtight seal to your face. So air purifying respirators are called APRs. They include the following: dust masks, which can be used really for almost any job and occupation in our hotel. There's elastomeric reusable respirators. So those are tight fitting that can be either half mask or a full face piece. They have filtering face pieces with the canisters that protect against particles or chemical vapors and gases. Or there are powered air purifying respirators, and they have a battery operated pack worn on the waist and a positive pressure flow of clean filtered air through a full face piece mask. Supplied air respirators, we do not have these here at our hotel, but if you're curious to know about them, that includes the following information. Next, we're going to body protection. The biggest hazards for body protection is intense light or heat, cold temperatures, impact from tools, machinery, or materials, cuts, punctures, or abrasions, exposure to hazardous chemicals, infectious materials, pesticides, and radiation. There's different types, which this honestly will impact you guys the most. Every department is, subject to body protection. So please pay attention because we have a lot of good information right here. You can wear vests, protection against punctures, increased visibility. Luckily, you guys aren't digging trenches outside, so you don't really have a big need to wear those. But aprons, they protect against punctures and splashes. So I know our kitchen team, they wear aprons for that purpose. And hula hands. There's jackets. So a lot of our bellman engineers, you guys have jackets to protect you against extreme cold. There's also chaps, coat coveralls, or bodysuits or lab coats. Inspection and maintenance. You must carefully maintain your reusable body protection. Any disposable body protection should be discarded into designated waste receptacle. So if you have maybe a plastic apron that you're using to help clean up a biohazard, say like a covering your outfit and your shoes or something. If you use that and it gets all bloody and gross, you're gonna need to make sure that you take that off immediately after you're done. You dispose of it properly and then wash your hands. And then there's also about hand protection. There are hand injuries. These are very, very common, so we need to make sure we're being very careful. So a lot of hand injuries are caused by chemical burns, absorption of harmful substances, burns from hot environments, surfaces, and equipment, frostbite, bruises, abrasions, cuts, or punctures. So for glove materials, you need to make sure you're using the right ones for the right thing. Latex, nitrile, synthetics, they protect against burns and biological hazards and irritation and dermatitis. Then the ones that have metal mesh, leather, and canvas, they protect against cuts, abrasions, punctures, and burns. And then we have fabric and fabric coated. They're against dirt and abrasions. And rubber protect against cuts, punctures, and abrasions. And then there's insulated, which means extreme hot heat or cold. So we do use mesh gloves. We do have these for the kitchen because we want to make sure that anyone who's chopping vegetables is being safe and using the right PPE. So basically making sure that the right glove you have fits the right duty you're doing. So it needs to match, the task being performed, the conditions present, are you using a big knife? Are you using something that's kind of dull? The duration and frequency of use, the grip and manual dexterity needed, the cut resistance, electrical resistance, and chemical resistance. So these are all things to keep in mind. For maintenance, there's some recommendations. Inspect your gloves before each use. Discard gloves that show signs of wear or leakage, especially if they're one-use gloves, discard those. Remove contaminated gloves before leaving the work site. And if they are reusable gloves, wash your hands with the gloves on and then remove them by pulling the cuffs off over your hand, and then follow procedures for proper disposal or cleaning of the gloves. And then make sure to wash your hands again because you're still touching all of that nastiness. Next is foot protection. Always wear foot protection required by OHM. For us, that really means making sure you're wearing non-slip shoes. So non-slips are shoes that have a lot of grip on them. They can't really move a whole lot when you're not slipping and sliding nowhere. We use these, when you're in the kitchens, when you're back in housekeeping, engineering, anywhere that you're going to have large risk for slipping and falling. But even then, front desk even needs to wear them because if you're going back to help grab some towels for a guest late night and you go back and you might be slipping, maybe there's some chemicals that were on the floor or some water. So no matter what department you're in, please always wear those nice non-slip shoes. Again, types of foot protection, we do non-slips, but if you have engineering or a tougher job, then, making sure that you have impact resistant toes, maybe puncture resistant, doing the right thing by protecting your feet. If you drop something on them, you want to make sure they're protected no matter what. The summary, PPE is the last line of defense. So hopefully you don't bonk your head because you watch where you're going. Hopefully you don't slip and fall because you see the water stain and you clean it up, or you don't fall because you see the little yellow caution sign. Hopefully you don't burn yourself because you're making sure that your hands aren't close to the flame or to a hot pan. But if you do have to get near and something happens, it's always better to have PPE, especially if you're cleaning up something, maybe a biohazard from a guest or from a team member, and it's kind of you can't avoid it and you need to make sure you're handling it the right way. Always go to your manager on duty. They are happy to help no matter what the situation is. And even for you as a manager on duty, make sure you're using the right PPE so that way you can be safe and you can be protected and set a good example. If you are not authorized to use this PPE, always make sure that you ask your boss. If you're interested in using like maybe some goggles or some gloves or anything, have any questions, you can reach out to your manager or to me. I'm happy to help. But other than that, please don't be taking stuff from the engineering shop because you want to use it. Please be respectful. Anything that's damaged, you must throw it away and take it out. Make sure that you're storing it properly and it probably won't get as damaged over time. So just treating the items with respect also will go a long way in its usefulness. Thank you, and let me know if you have any questions. I am happy to help.